Today on Continue Cooking, we'll be making japchae, a traditional Korean side dish, or banchan.
Here are our ingredients for our japchae. First off, we're not going to use this much steak. We're going to shave off about 4 ounces of this. This is a chuck eye roll, but you can use a lean cut. We're going to be cutting this very thin, so you don't have to use an expensive cut of beef for this. We're going to be cutting this carrot into matchsticks to add that. We have shiitake mushrooms. We have 1 small onion. You can use half a medium onion as well. A couple of green onions. We'll have about a tablespoon of minced garlic. So I have these garlic cloves right here. 6 ounces of fresh spinach. And then for the sauce, we're going to have some sugar, some sesame oil, and some soy sauce. So this is going to make our japchae alongside, of course, our dangmyeon. To get the right width for this, you can look, and in fact, this has, wow, it has japchae on there. So you know it's the right one. Dangmyeon is going to be a Korean glass noodle that is made out of sweet potato. I'm gonna cut off some of the fat first on this. And I'm not gonna use, obviously this is way more than I need. I'm cutting out some of the big pieces of fat right here. It's still very cold. So I'm looking at the grain of the beef here, and the grain, as you can see, is going this way. So I wanna slice perpendicular to that so that it's nice and tender. We don't get those long fibers. But as you'll see, you know, we can get, because it's partially frozen, it was thawed, and then I tossed it into the freezer for about an hour, and it's going to cut very thinly now as a result. If you happen to have a meat slicer, you can just go ahead and use that too, I guess. All the ingredients are going to be sliced very thin in this, so we don't really want any piece of meat that's going to be bigger than about 1.5 to 2 inches in length. So once they start to get longer, I'm just going to cut them in half like this. Okay, we're going to add 7 ounces or 200 grams of these noodles out. Okay, we're going to make the sauce. We're going to add 3.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. Going to add 3 tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of these sesame seeds. These are roasted sesame seeds, so add a tablespoon of these. Gonna add 2 tablespoons of the sesame oil. All right, so we put the garlic in, about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. I'm stirring this up to incorporate the sugar right now. I'm gonna crack a little bit of black pepper in here. Again, we're gonna be cutting all of the ingredients for our japchae into smaller pieces. I have a peeled carrot here. I am going to be cutting this into matchsticks. So we need to make sure we have some flat sides to work with here. This doesn't need to be perfect. We're just trying to get it into little thin slivers that will be pleasant to eat alongside the noodles. I think we're finally ready to begin the cooking process, guys. So first things first, we're gonna make the noodles for the japchae. And to make it easy, I'm just gonna go ahead and use 1 pan. So I'm using a 12-inch nonstick skillet for this. And we're gonna make the noodles first. I'm going to bring about 5 cups of water here to a boil in the skillet. The exact amount of water is not very important. It's about 1.25 liters, but I'm just trying to be able to submerge the pasta within this. So I'm gonna turn this on to high just to get this boiling. And then once we do that, we're gonna put our dangmyeon, or our glass noodles, in there in order to cook them. So I have some shiitake mushrooms here that I'm going to thinly slice. This is a pretty small onion, so I'm going to use the whole onion. But if you have a medium-sized onion, you may only want to use half of one. I'm going to cut these into very thin strips. Again, we want them to mirror the size of the noodles, so that's how we want our onion to be too, so we can pick it up very easily with our chopsticks.
The water is boiling, guys. You guys want to see bubbling water?
All right, we're good. I'll turn this down to medium, and we're gonna put our dangmyeon in there and watch it melt into the water. Ooh. You can make spaghetti this way too. I usually don't do it in a non-stick pan. I do it in a stainless steel pan, but it's a very efficient way to make spaghetti because it is going to boil the water super fast. We're gonna keep an eye on this. I'm gonna put a timer on for about, let's try 6 minutes at first. In the meantime, we're gonna get ready with our green onions. If you have one of the tools that slices the green onions into ribbons, that is an excellent tool. I have in the States, but I don't have here, so I'm gonna just be kind of cutting them into ribbons myself. But I do miss that. Maybe I'll get one here. This is a noodle that's about been in there for about 3 minutes. And it looks translucent, which is what we want, but it's still like very chewy and hard. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this off the heat and I'm going to pour it into our colander here, and I'm gonna shock it with cold water to stop it from cooking. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna bring some more water to a boil so I can blanch the spinach also in this. So what I'm doing is I'm running cold water over the noodles and I'm pulling it with my hands so we can stop the cooking process. And remember that our sauce has a bunch of sesame oil in it. So what we wanna do is we wanna add a few tablespoons of this sauce to a bowl and then put our noodles in here because we don't want our noodles to stick. So I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons of the sauce. I'm gonna add the noodles in there. Try not to get too much water in. While we're here, I'm also going to just go ahead and cut these noodles a little bit because they're very long right now. So as you guys can see, we have these really, really long noodle pieces, and you're gonna have to bite through these anyway. They're longer than spaghetti. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get some scissors in there and cut them a few times so that we just have some smaller noodle segments so it's not quite so annoying to eat. So our water is boiling again. So I'm gonna go ahead and blanch the spinach just a little bit until it's slightly wilted. So it's nice and supple. Should only take, a minute maybe. That should probably do it. It's a nice dark green now, so we're gonna go ahead and remove this from the heat. We are also going to put this in that same colander, and we're gonna shock it with cold water. And I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the water out of the spinach because it does retain quite a bit of moisture that we don't want in the japchae. You can see here, here's my spinach ball that I have squozen. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and cut this in half so we have a little bit of the smaller pieces of spinach. It's gonna add a little bit of table salt. I'm using MSG salt just to incorporate some salt into the spinach leaves. We're gonna stir fry these noodles now. So I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to the skillet. Remember that there is oil from the sauce. So just some vegetable oil here, maybe about half a tablespoon. We're gonna turn the heat onto medium with a little bit of oil, and we're gonna start stir frying these noodles when it comes up to heat. We're gonna add the noodles now. This is gonna splatter a little bit because there's some water within the sauce, also some leftover water from the noodles. So what we wanna do here is just stir. They're gonna become very translucent as we stir fry them. They're gonna become very clear. So as you can see, the noodles are becoming increasingly transparent as we go on, and they're taking over the color of the soy sauce that we have, and they're gonna be pretty greasy. Okay, I think we're pretty much done with this part of it. We're gonna start to add all of the rest of the ingredients now, and we're gonna start to cook the carrots and the onions. We just went ahead and put the stir-fried noodles back in the same bowl that they were in with the sauce. We're at another half tablespoon or so of oil. The pan's gonna be pretty hot as it is, so we'll just go ahead and toss our carrots in. And you'll want to add a pinch of salt, just table salt to them as well. Again, medium or medium-high will be appropriate here. We're just trying to soften the carrots. Our goal with the carrots and the onions and everything is to get them to the point where they are soft, but still just a little bit crisp, so we have some different textures. So we're gonna add those first, and then we'll add the onions. So a little bit more salt onto the onions. You can do this in a wok too. Whoops. I'm used to flipping in a wok, so I just flipped all the ingredients over to myself. I'm adding our green onions now to this. We're kind of doing things in waves here so that everything finishes cooking at the same time. So that looks pretty good. You can see everything's pliable, but it's still gonna be pretty crisp. Yeah, it's good. It has a good mouthfeel right now. So that is just gonna go right into the bowl with our noodles. Okay, so now we're still gonna have this at medium. I'm gonna put our beef and mushrooms in, and this does not need to be cooked long at all. First up though, we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of our remaining sauce. Here's our thinly sliced beef. And we don't wanna overcook the beef, right? And we don't wanna overcook our nice delicate mushrooms. So we just wanna get the color off the beef so it's not pink anymore. That's gonna go in here. Everything just gonna go in here, guys. Let's put this in here. We're adding our spinach now alongside our beef and our mushrooms, and we're gonna add the rest of our sauce. So we can add more salt if we need it, but first up, it's gonna be a little bit hot, but usually you should probably do this part with gloves, guys. A lot of times when you're mixing stuff by hand, and a lot of stuff is mixed by hand in Korean food, they wear gloves just because of the heat. All right, I'm gonna try and stir this again, the japchae. And it is, oh my gosh, I can do it now. So the noodles have clumped up a little bit, so what I'm gonna try and do is just separate them and evenly incorporate our vegetables within the noodle mass. It's just really a lot easier just to do this with your hands than using any kind of instrument. Plus the noodles are gonna be pretty delicate and so are the vegetables, so you don't wanna like shred it up or anything like that. But we do wanna get all the carrots and onions and mushrooms and beef spinach all nice and mixed up together. All right, here's our japchae. There's a nice balance of salty and sweet with the sugar and the soy sauce in there. Vegetables are tender but still a little crisp, so they got a crunch to them. They have nice differences in texture. Delightful.